The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. Longman Simplified English Series. Read by Surya Thongmak. Chapter 29. Huck can't bear those ways. The boys' fight caused great excitement in the poor little village of St. Petersburg. Every haunted house in St. Petersburg and the neighboring villages was dug up for hidden treasure, and not by boys but by men. Some of them were serious, sensible men too. Wherever Tom and Huck appeared, they were admired and stared at. They were unable to remember that their remarks had possessed weight before, but now their sayings were treasured and repeated. Even the village paper published accounts of their lives. The widow Douglas invested Huck's money at 6%, and Duke's treasurer did the same with Tom's at Aunt Polly's request. Each boy had an income now that was simply gigantic, $1 for every weekday in the year and half of the Sundays. For $1.25 a week in those simple days, a boy could be fed, lodged, and sent to school, and clothed and washed too. Judge Thatcher had formed a high opinion of Tom and said that he hoped to see him a great lawyer or a great soldier some day. He said that he meant to arrange that Tom should be admitted to the military college and afterwards to the best law school in the country in order that he might be ready for either profession or both. Huck Finn's wealth and the fact that he was under the widow Douglas's protection introduced him, dragged him into society, and his sufferings were more than he could bear. He bravely bore his miseries for 3 weeks and then was missing. The widow was full of anxiety and searched for him everywhere. The public also searched high and low, and even dragged the river for his body. Early the third morning, Tom wisely went hunting about among some old empty barrels behind a ruined shed, and in one of them he found the deserter. Huck had slept there and had just breakfasted upon some stolen oats and ants, and was stretched out in comfort, smoking his pipe. He was untidy, uncombat, and dressed in the same old rags which he wore in the days when he was free and happy. Tom pulled him out, told him of the trouble he had been causing, and urged him to go home. Huck's face lost its contentment. "Don't talk about it, Tom," he said. "I've tried it, and it doesn't work. I'm not used to it. The widow's good to me and friendly, but I can't bear those ways. She makes me get up at the same time every morning. She makes me wash, and the servants comb me to pieces. She won't let me sleep in the woodshed. I'm forced to wear those horrible clothes that won't let any air get through somehow, and while I'm wearing them I can't sit down or lie down or roll about anywhere. I have to go to church and wear shoes all Sunday. The widow gets up by a bell, she eats by a bell, she goes to bed by a bell. Everything is so horribly regular that I can't bear it." "Well, everybody lives like that, Huck." "Tom, I'm not everybody, and I can't bear it. It's awful to be tied up so, and food comes too easily. I don't take any interest in it that way. I have to ask to go fishing. I have to ask to go swimming. I have to ask if I want to do anything at all. They made me talk so nicely and correctly that I had to go in the woodshed and cursed for a time to take the rotten taste out of my mouth, or I'll have died. Tom, the widow wouldn't let me smoke, she wouldn't let me shout, she wouldn't let me yawn or stretched or stretched in front of people. Besides, that school will be open soon, and she want me to go to it. I couldn't face that, Tom. Look here, Tom, being rich isn't what people pretend it is. It's only worry and worry and sweat and wishing all the time you were dead. Now this clothes suit me and this barrel suits me and I'm not going to leave them anymore. Tom, that money has been the cause of all this trouble I'm in. Now take my share of it. Give me a few cents now and again, for I don't care much for a thing unless it's fairly hard to get, and beg the widow to let me go. Oh, Huck, you know I can't do that. It isn't fair, and besides, if you try this kind of life just a little longer, you'll begin to like it. Like it? Yes. You say next that you like a hot stove if I sat on it long enough. No, Tom, I won't be rich, and I won't be shut up in those horrible houses. I like the woods, and the river, and the barrels, and I'll stick to them too. Hang it, just as we've got guns, and a cave, and are all ready to rob. The widow's foolishness spoils it all. Tom saw his opportunity. Look here, Huck. Being rich isn't going to prevent me from being a robber. No. Oh, do you really mean that, Tom? It's as true as I'm sitting here, but Huck, we can't let you join the gang if you're not respectable. You know, Huck's face clouded. You can't let me join, Tom. Why? Didn't you let me be a pirate? Yes, but that's different. A robber is more high class than a pirate, as a rule. In most countries, there are very high rank lords and people like that. Now, Tom, haven't you always been friendly to me? You wouldn't keep me out, would you, Tom? You wouldn't do that now, would you, Tom? Huck, I wouldn't want to, and I don't want to, but what would people say? Why, they say, Tom Sawyer's gang. There are some very low-class fellows in it. That mean you. Huck, you wouldn't like that, and I wouldn't. Huck was silent while a struggle was going on in his mind. Finally, he said, well, I'll go back to the widow for a month and see if I can bear it. If you let me join the gang, Tom. All right, Huck, I agree. Come along, old fellow, and I'll ask the widow not to be so hard on you. Will you, Tom? Now will you? That's good of you. If she'll leave out some of the hardest things, I'll manage to leave there first. When are you going to start the gang? Oh, at once. We'll get the boys together and have the swearing in tonight. What's that? It's to vow to stand by one another and never tell the gang secrets, even if you're cut off into little bits. That's grand, Tom. That's really grand, isn't it? And all that wearing must be done at midnight in the loneliest, awfulest place you can find. A haunted house is the best, but they're all dug up now. Well, midnight's good anyway, Tom. Yes, so it is. And you've to swear on a coffin and sign it with blood. Now, that's glorious. Why, it's a million times better than being a pirate. I'll stick to the widow till I die, Tom. And if I become a first-class robber and everybody's talking about me, she'll be proud that she dragged me in out of the rain.